Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Hope I'm audible and everyone could see my screen here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So where are we, guys? I think we are into the HTML5 concepts. We are done with the some of the HTML5 features like web workers, app cache, etc., drag drop feature. Okay, what we discussed in the last class. We have seen the canvas tag, SVG tag. How do we create a custom dialog box? And we have even seen the new set of events being supported in your HTML5, which is your drag drop, etc. and all, right? So on the top, the next feature what we have from HTML5 is there is a predefined object, something called as navigator. Okay, navigator is a predefined object by default supported in every HTML5 based web page, which holds extra information of the current system, the current operating system, the current platform, every the devices what are being connected, every other information will be available under the navigator object. Okay, let us create a simple example on this. Okay, so before talking about the navigator object, you would have seen in most of the web applications, like anytime you open the web page, you used to get a hint saying that, boss, please open the web page in Chrome browser to see the best performance. I mean, to be more faster. Ever got a chance to see that? Anyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Most of the times. I mean, why the reason I mean, the first question what you should get over there is how come and one thing is, for example, if you open the same web page in other browsers, like in your Mozilla or IE, it shows that, boss, please open the web page in the Chrome. But if you open the web page within the Chrome browser, it never shows that type of alert. Okay, so the question what you need to get over here is how come the web page is automatically understanding that what browser user is using currently. Okay, the first thing is user is not, I mean, it never asked a web page. Did you ever saw that web page is asking that, boss, tell me which browser you're working? No, browser never asked that and application never asked that. So there is some automatic feature, there is some predefined feature within the page. They could able to identify automatically saying that what current browser you're working on, etc. Okay, on the top, you would have seen in most of the web pages, like some music web pages, it'll ask you that please use the earphones to get a good experience, the better experience. Okay, and if you put a plugin, it never shows that. So how come they're understanding that whether the earphone is connected or not? Even it is not asking you that what devices are being connected. So how these type of information they could able to identify from the user's machine without even asking the user. I mean, they don't ask the question to the user, but still they could able to get it. So how come it is happening? So that is where we have the navigator object. Whenever you say console.log, as we have the document object, window object, etc., we have some predefined object, something called as navigator object. So what actually that guy contains? So this guy contains the extra information of the current system. Okay, regarding my current machine, it is going to have some extra information. Now, when I expand this navigator object, do you see that the app version which is working, it is Chrome 96 version, what you're working on? I'm not giving any information. It could automatically find out what what browser you're using, what version of the browser, because you would have seen in some of the pages something that was, please update your browser version so that you can get the latest features. So how come they're understanding that what version of the browser we have installed in our local machine? So using this navigator object. So it is having all the extra information. Now, if you see, what is my type of internet connection? Like some videos I have to show to the user with some different quality based on the connection type what he's having. If he's using 2G or 3G, I should not show the higher quality video. I should only show him the lighter version of the video so that user don't see that buffering and all. So you can ask, you don't need to ask the user, boss, what type of operating system you're using. So if you see here, there is a connection object under that. It is automatically saying, okay, what type of network user is using. So if you see, like in my system, it is 4G network. Okay. On the top, there is something called languages. If you see here, under the language object, you could able to see what all the list of languages the current system is supporting, or the current user system is supporting. Okay. In the same way, what are the media devices? If I expand these guy, you see media devices are, when I'm expanding these guy, there is no media device which is being connected. But if you have any media device, it will automatically show you, okay, there is a printer being connected, there is a earphone being connected, there is a headphone being connected, every other information, it is going to show it over here. Okay. In the same way, you can get some extra information like USB. What are the USBs? I mean, under the USB port, what are being connected? And under this, you can see the operating system also. Windows 64-bit operating system user is using. Okay. And the vendor, what we have is Google Inc. Okay. In the same way, what all the things other than this we have? There is something called.
Sir, what is the meaning of vendor?
Vendor is the guy who is the owner of the product. So for my Chrome, vendor is Google, right? The guy who developed the product. Am I clear?
Yes, sir, got it.
Yeah. And if you see here, it is even showing a plugin saying that what are the list of plugins you got installed. One thing, sometimes when you open some of the browsers, if you see that there is a plugin which is mandatory, user have to install it. So you need to automatically show a pop-up to him saying that, boss, please install this plugin to do something else. But if the plugin is already installed, you should not open that pop-up. Then how come? I mean, your program is something different, which is coming to the user system and getting executed. Then how come that guy can know what operating system, what plugins been installed, what devices are being connected, what type of connection user is using, what type of browser, what is the operating system, what is the browser version, every other extra information other than the window. Now, if you see, it is not talking anything about the current page. It is not saying that this is the DOM structure, this is something else. No. In order to work with DOM structure, events, HTML content, etc., we have other predefined objects. But this navigator object is dedicatedly in order to work with the extra information of the current system. Okay. Now, you one thing in my page. For example, I say that console.log, hello, I'm from Chrome browser. Okay. And I say, hello, I'm from other browser. Okay. It is not Chrome, something else. Assume this is what the message I have added, guys. Now, once you go here, reload the page, you see here, I got the message that, hello, I'm from Chrome. At the same time, hello, I'm from browser. But what if my requirement is, I want to put a message to the user saying that if it is Chrome, say, for example, if it's Chrome, I want to say a message to the user saying that thanks for using the Chrome browser. Okay, I would like to put a message here. Thanks for using Chrome browser. Okay, if this is not the case, I would like to say console.log, please try to open the page in Chrome for better performance. Okay, this is what the message I would like to show to the user. Now, the first question what we will be getting is, how do I know whether the current browser is Chrome or other than that? The problem what we have is we cannot ask the end user. We cannot ask that, boss, please tell me what operating system you're giving or what browser or what version you have. So instead of this, can I make use of the navigator object here? So we have found that under the navigator object, there is something called as, I mean, you can even get the Chrome, you see here, when you see this user agent, under this, if you see here, Chrome 96 is the version. I mean, that is also one way you can directly get it, whether which operating system you have, I mean, which browser you have. For now, I'm simply using this vendor guy because I know that if the vendor is equal to something like this, if I get these guy, copy this guy, okay, if I put this guy, so what I want to do, if the vendor is equal to Google Inc, thanks for using Chrome browser, that is what I want to go. If you reload the page, is it not saying thanks for using Chrome browser? In the current page, we are not asking the user that whether which browser you are using. Now, what if user is using the same page in other browser? Let us say I go with Firefox. Okay, if you inspect this guy, go for console, do you see, is it automatically saying that please try to open the page in the Chrome for the better performance? This is what happens in your other pages also. So what they do is they don't ask the details to the user, but based on the navigator object, they get to know every other information. For example, I want to say that whether user has plugged in the earphones or not. So I will check in the media types, whether the plugin is there or, I mean, whether the third party media device has been connected or not. If not, I can show the pop-up or whatever it is according to the user. Okay. So this is how anytime you want to perform any type of operation based on the operating system, based on the devices what been connected, I mean, other than anything regarding your code, it is not talking anything about the DOM structure, code, JavaScript, HTML and all. It is just giving some extra information regarding the current browser, what it is, what we are using. Any questions on this, guys? Is everyone clear? What is the use of this navigator object?
Yes, sir.
Sir, can we also extract the information whether the user is using a laptop, computer, or mobile?
That we cannot go for actually. If you see here, do you see any type of information regarding the device? One thing what we have is you can make use of the operating system also, right? When I say the app version, this guy itself will tell you whether it is when I say Windows NT, there is no way that, I mean, one thing is you can differentiate between the Windows system or an Android, isn't it? So that you can do, but it doesn't say that whether it is a laptop or desktop, that type of information, it is not available.
Yes, sir.
Am I clear? So if we go for the Android, so app version, what is it is? It is regarding the operating system. It might be Android or whatever the information it has, it will be showing on. Okay. And Raj is asking a question that, boss, what do you mean by plugins? Raj, if you see here, I mean, say, for example, in most of the times within the browser, it asks for install the PDF reader plugin, etc. stuff, right? Let me show you. Now, if you see here, under this guy, not here, Alt F. How do I get to the settings? Under settings, you have something called plugins. Where is that? Extensions. Extensions or plugins, both are same. Okay, so if you see here, this is what the extension what I have added, Cisco WebEx extension. Remove. Okay, remove. Okay, now if you see, I can install a lot of plugins from here, like some game plugins. I mean, extensions to the existing browser, we call it as extensions or plugins. Am I clear, Raj? Now, for example, you are the one who has developed one of the plugin, and if the user is not using that plugin, you want to ask the user to install it. You know, like sometimes when you go to the YouTube and all, they'll ask you that, boss, please subscribe to our channel. If you are already subscribed, they don't put that pop-up. How come? Like based on these type of, if you have developed one of the app and the user is using your web page. Now you want to ask the user, boss, are you interested with this plugin or not? And if you, when you're putting that question, you cannot put to the question to everyone. You need to see that whether he has already installed that plugin or not. If he has not installed, then you can ask it. If not, you can skip. Am I clear, Rajshekhar, with your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more questions, guys? Navigator object. So
Sir, my question is why our browser is taking these much information from our system?
why the browser is taking this much information? That's a
If
good
we are
question.
not developer, if we are a simple user,
Mhm.
we don't want to share this. क्या ये हमारे एप्लीकेशन को एक्सेस जब हम इंस्टॉल करते हैं प्रोवाइड करते हैं तब ये इंफॉर्मेशन
yes.
जाती है?
No, it is not like only specific. It is not going to ask you that whether to share or not, etc. Anyone. Now, for example, there is a document object and a window object. Once you open Amazon.com, under that, can they make use of the console.log document object and window object?
Citation read.
Yes or no, Sharma?
No, sir. No, sir.
They can make use, right? If say we have Amazon.com, under that, they can make use of the document object or a window object, right? Under the Java code. Yes, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. In the same way, when they say something called as navigator object, it will automatically read all this data. But one thing what you are saying is, I mean, your question might be something called, boss, I'm not a developer and my requirement is not to share this. And that too, if you clearly see this, this is not a sensitive data. It is not going to share the local storage object or session storage data, because where there is a chance of storing the passwords and all. It is not storing the sensitive data. It is all used for the statistics also. You know, like people say that, boss, these many people are using IE browser. These many people are using Chrome browser. How come they say that? How come they know that how every person is using? So using the navigator object, whenever you open a page, it will return back to them saying that, okay, this is the statistics. This user is using so-and-so. So for these purpose, they actually make use of it. Now, if you see under this guy, there is others, one sensitive information is there under the navigator object, which we call it as geolocation. If you see here, geolocation, what is the use of this object? Using the predefined geolocation object without asking, without depending upon the third-party maps API, we could able to receive the current user latitude and longitude information. Okay. So if we try to access that guy, then your browser will throw an alert for you. Boss, user is trying to access some sensitive information. Are you okay to share it or not? Okay, let me show you guys. So one thing is navigator object showing the extra information of the browser, etc. and all. Along with that, now if you try to access, now I say navigator dot geolocation got get current position of get current position. There is something called as coordinates. Okay, whatever. Okay, event, I guess. Okay, let us see this. If I say console.log chords, what actually the chords I'm receiving from the navigator object. If you see here, my code is trying to access the geolocation. Now, if you try to reload your browser, is my browser is alerting me? Yes, it is saying that, boss, the current web page is trying to access your location. Now, if I say, no, boss, block it, it doesn't show you. See here, I don't get any console. Now, if you reload the page, if you say allow, then only you should be able to get the geolocation. Now, if I expand this geolocation under the cards, okay, let me show you. Console dot, this is the data what we receive, data dot cards. Okay, under the cards, we have this latitude and longitude. Now, if you reload the page, I say allow, you see here, what is the information I'm receiving? This is the latitude and longitude. Now, if you take this latitude and longitude, you'll be just near to me. I mean, these are my current my current location where I'm actually accessing this web page. Okay, so using this object, this is also one of the advantage. We could able to get the user current location, and here we are not using any third-party Maps API. So to answer your question, using your navigator object only sensitive data, what we access is the geolocation. For that, your browser is actually alerting. So actually your browsers are having some auto intelligence feature. They make sure anytime the user is doing something harm, you would have seen in some of the web pages when you try to open, it says that boss, some JavaScript is running to get your private data. Are you okay to install it or not? So those type of things will be automatically done by browser.
So it's about our permission. If we give,
If
we
you
can-
give, then it will go ahead. Otherwise, it is not allowing. If you
So
see
what
at the
about-
same, go ahead, Sharma.
what about media, sir?
Media is not a sensitive information, right? Now, when you say media, I could able to know when I'm getting the vendor name, when I'm getting the Chrome browser name, or when I'm getting some. I mean, your object is, I mean, your browser only shows the pop-up when it is a sensitive type of data. So, do you think that whether you are using the Chrome browser or IE, is it is a private data? I don't think yes, right?
No, yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is the reason. I mean, that is how the navigator object works. Hope you're
So
clear with
our-
your question.
Sir,
Yeah.
our browser is a client or server based?
Our browser is always a client responsible for executing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript
So
code.
no one can access from server.
No one can access from the server. No.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions under the navigator object, guys? So using your navigator object, we can get the extra information of the current system along with geolocation is also one of the feature. And one more thing, guys, if you ask me a question, okay, using the geolocation object, we could able to get the latitude and longitude values of the user who logged into the system. Okay, is it is possible to get the directions? Is it is possible to get the total time what it takes between so and so source to so and so destination? Is it is possible to give the address and locate me on the map? No, boss. In order to do all of those, you need to go for the Maps API. Navigator object is simply giving a piece of job of automatically identifying the current user location. It is latitude and longitude. That's it. Nothing other than that. If you want to go with other more features of the maps, you need to depend upon the Maps API.
Sir, one question, please.
Go ahead, please.
Sir, suppose I am submitting some file on a page, like sending a resume or uploading a resume. When I click upload file and it's pop up on file explorer, and we select the file and submit.
Yes.
So from here, can anyone access our data? Because मतलब मेरा पूछने का मतलब है सर कि वो जो फाइल एक्सप्लोरर या हमारे साइट पे खुलती है या सर्वर साइट से?
When you upload a file, we are not opening the file. We as a user, we only send the file to the server. Okay. On the top, there is no way that using your JavaScript code, you want to open that file, reading the file, nothing. It's all happens at the server side. You know, like even when you're uploading a file, there is even a check is also going to be applied, because when you upload a file, the server is taking it and it is putting into the server location. Now, when you could able to add some malicious file which is having some virus and all, if you upload it, if the server blindly takes the file and puts into the server, there is a chance that server might get crash. So that is the reason whenever you upload a server, first thing is client never ever comes into the picture. Client responsibility is simply add the file to the request object. Server's responsibility to read the file, check the size dimensions or check the extensions conditions. At the same time, they even implement some virus detecting piece of code which will check for whether the given file is having the valid data or malicious data. So if it is malicious, it simply replies that file cannot be uploaded. They don't even copy into the server side. If not, they will do that.
So all these happened on server or client?
Only on the server side. First thing what you need to understand is JavaScript never ever capable of working with files. You cannot open a file, read a file, append a file, cannot be done with your JavaScript. Remember when I was talking about the Ajax, I said that when the client, what are the limitations of the client? Client cannot directly interact with the database, or client cannot interact directly with the file system. Those two are limitations.
Yes, sir.
Am I clear?
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions regarding the navigator object? Hope everyone is clear. Okay, let's go into the notes once, guys. What all the things we have covered from HTML5 and what all the things which are pending. Version 1, web development. Control F. Let me see. Navigator object. Okay. So what all the things we have seen from starting, we'll go here. Okay. Now when I say HTML5, we have started with local storage and session storage concepts. We already covered this. At the same time, we have seen the semantic tags. Okay. So we understood what do you mean by semantic tags. What are the predefined semantic tags we have? We saw that. And we have seen the HTML5 new input elements. We have already seen those. And audio video tag support. We already covered it. What else? Application cache concept. How do you make a web page to be offline? That also we covered. We covered the navigator object also. Okay, today we have just done navigator geolocation we have done, and HTML5 canvas tag and SVG tag we have already done, and the drag and drop feature. How do you implement the drag drop features that we have done? Web workers. How do you implement the multitasking in your page? That also we have covered. So what next? Yeah, that's it, guys. So this is what your HTML5 is. If someone asks that, do you have an experience of HTML5? They mean that you should have an idea of all these new features being opted. And as I already said you, moving to HTML5 doesn't mean that we only go with HTML5, but we combine the combination of HTML4 along with the 5. So any questions on this complete HTML5, guys? Hope everyone is clear.
Yes,
We can go for next topic, the CSS3.
yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So let us see the next topic, which we call it as CSS3. The same feature, the same applies over here. CSS3 doesn't mean that we are leaving the CSS2, but we are having only some new set of features being added in your CSS3. In fact, a very, very useful and easiest way of implementing the animation types can be done using your CSS3. A lot of flexible layout, grid layouts, linear gradients, adding the multicolor layout, adding the rounded borders, transition, information, keyframes, multi-column layouts, and very important media queries. So these all are the features which are being supported in your CSS3. So we'll go. Okay. So let us go with one by one, guys. The very first thing what we have, let us see some of the features of this CSS3 demo.html. Okay, let us talk something about the rounded corners, guys. In fact, like in one of the, when we were talking about the dialog box, I just talked about that, but let me actually show you in deeper here. Let us say some class equal to say some container. Okay, under the container, I say hello everyone. Okay, now I take out this container. One pixel solid, width of say some 500 pixel, height of say some 500 pixel. Okay, save this guy. Come back. Okay, let me make it to the center. Okay, this is how I have a very simple container. So till now, anytime you add any borders to any of the container, by default, you get to see the square edged borders. Now, if at all you want to keep the rounded edged corners, so we have a CSS property, something called as border hyphen radius. Okay. So where if you give some 10 pixel here for all the 4 corners, it is going to add a 10 pixel of rounded corner. If you want to make it, let me say, so when you give like 2 values, the first value will be taken, see here, the first value will be taken for the left top corner and the right bottom corner. The second 2 values will be taken for the right top corner and the left bottom corner. Okay, like this, if you want, you can even specify the border radius for individual dimensions. You can say border radius hyphen top, border hyphen right, bottom, etc. You can even control that. Okay. And on the top, there is a good interview question. People will ask you, how do you draw a circle within the page? What will be your answer, guys? Any idea till now? Anything we discussed? If I ask,
increase the border radius.
we increase the border radius. Okay, that is fine. Anything else? Anything else? Come on, guys. We already discussed some of the concepts. Canvas.
Sir, we
tag,
had done using the
tag.
SVG and canvas tag.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. Using your canvas and SVG, you can even draw the circles. But if your question is, if they ask you, how do you draw a circle without canvas and SVG? So the answer will be
Border radius.
So using your border radius, now if I say that you give something called 50% left and right, 50% from all the 4 directions. Now if you come back here and reload the page, it will automatically draw a circle for you. The easiest way of drawing circles without using any SVG or canvas tag. Okay. So this is one of the interview question, guys. On the top, what you can do is right now, for example, I may go with say some 10 and 20 pixel. Save this guy, come back here and reload this page. This is how it is. Now, what if I would like to add some shadow effects to the containers, guys? Okay. So how do you add the shadow effect? You actually have 2 things. One is the text shadow and the box shadow. Now, when I say box hyphen shadow, which takes 4 values here, 3 pixel, 5 pixel, 10 pixel, and some red color. So what do you mean by this? Bottom side, how much of blur shadow effect you wanted? Right side, how much of shadow effect you wanted? How much level of blurriness you wanted? And what is the color of the blurriness? Now, if you save this guy, come back here and reload the page. This is how you should be able to see the shadow effect being added to the containers. Okay. Not only for the
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, actually, I got it out that how do we measure the blurriness using the pixels? Sir, it should be like percentage or something.
If you say percentage, based on what percentage it will go? Like, is it the container or like you see the container with this 500 pixel? Do you think that the blurriness should be on the
No, sir, like that when we hover over that red text in the VS Code, so that different red effects are coming onto the screen. So like that.
Okay, that is actually the color, right? This is actually the color name. Now here, if I say this is the color what I have.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like that only I was saying that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see this, I'm not clear with your question actually. Like, if you see here, when I'm increasing the blurriness, okay, let us say some 15 pixels. Save this. See, according to the anytime you're working with the colors, we have only three different ways we have seen. One is the direct color. We have seen the hash code, and we have seen the RGB, isn't it? From your CSS3, there is an option where you can specify the transparency level of a container using the RGB, which is called as RGBA. Okay, a new way of applying the CS colors. I mean, color in the sense, anywhere you go, you apply the border, you apply the background, you apply the foreground, anything you want, you can add it over here. Now the RGBA will work something like this. You specify RGBA. Under that, you say some 20, 30, 40, comma 0.3. So we know that the first three values are red and green and blue. The third value specifies what type of blurriness, I mean, what type, how much level of transparency level to be added. Okay. Now I say background hyphen color, say something called as RGB. Okay. It is asking how much of red, say some 20. It is 30 and 40. Save this guy, come back here, reload the page. This is how I'm getting this. Now, what if I would like to control the transparency level of this? You simply say 0.3. The fourth parameter is called as the opacity property. Now, if you reload, this is how you have. Okay, this is again a good interview question. Difference between the RGB and RGBA. RGBA is adding the color along with the transparency level. The fourth property what we provide is opacity. And we already know the same condition gets applied for opacity here. We know that opacity is only between 0 to 1, right? Same thing. Any questions? Okay. On the top, this color is fine. What if like, what if like I would like to add images as a background to the container? From your CSS3, there is a lot of support being provided while adding the background images, like adding multiple images, controlling the position of the images. A lot of things can be done. Let's have a look on that. So let me copy the same thing. Let us save this guy. CSS3 background images HTML. Okay, now I have a container. I'm not adding any background color to this guy. Okay, let me increase the width and height of this guy. Let us say some 700 and 700 pixels. Okay, come back here. Oh. Open in the browser. This is how it is coming. Okay, you should see a container, some width and height. I haven't given any background thing. Now I would like to add an image as a background guys. So how do I get it? Let's see. Background images is small. Okay, let's have a copy of this. Okay, we know that how do we put the background image? Background hyphen image URL. You specify the path of the image. You specify the path of the image. Now, if you come back and reload the page. Okay, once you reload the page, you should see the image is coming something like this. This is too much bigger image, guys. Let me work with more smaller. You can understand that. Not this guy. This is also bigger.
Enter the say, sir.
Sorry. Okay, I think I got this guy. So let me copy this guy. Let me put this guy as a background image here. Save this, come back and close other tabs. Let's reload the page. This is how the background image is coming. We already know a lot of things about the background image, that anytime you have the background image dimensions lesser than the container dimensions, it will automatically gets repeated both horizontally and vertically, isn't it? That is what we have already seen in when we are actually working about the CSS2, isn't it? Now, under this, the other thing what you can do, now what all you could do with your CSS3, sorry, CSS2, we can say that background hyphen repeat as no repeat, isn't it? So we don't want to repeat it for multiple times. Save this guy, come back here, reload the page. It is getting occupied once. What are the other things you can do? You can go with the background hyphen position, something called as some 10 pixel and 10 pixel. Save this guy, come back and reload the page. You can control the position. This is what you can do from your CSS2. But coming to the CSS3, there are a lot more advantages you have, lot more controlling of your background images is being supported. So how come it is? So you can say background position, not only the values, you can specify something called as center. Okay, now if you reload the page, it automatically occupies the center of the container. In the same way, you would like to say something called as right center. Now, once you go here, reload the page, from the right side, it is occupying the center of the container. So like this, you can specify left, anything you can go for. I mean, you can actually specify the direction name, say something called as left, something called bottom. Okay, come back here and reload the page. So you can actually move the image wherever you wanted by not just only the values, but you can specify either left or right or center, etc. stuff. Okay. On the top, there is a new and very, very useful property. What CSS3 is providing is there is something called as background hyphen size property. There is never a control of background size from your CSS2. But now coming from your CSS3, you can even control the background size of a background image. Now I say something called as 100 pixel and 300 pixel. The width and height of this guy, come back here and reload the page. You see here, is the image is getting, the dimensions are being controlled? Yes. Now what if, doesn't matter how much bigger image you have, doesn't matter how much smaller image you have, I want the image to fit into the complete container. So how do I do that? So I simply say background size of 100% and 100%. That's it. Now if you save this, come back here, reload the page. This is how you can see a background image being added on the top, foreground content also being added here. Okay. So this is how you could able to control much more properties of your background image from your CSS3. On the top, we have concept. I mean, the peak level support of your CSS3 is not only the single image. Okay, let me comment out this guy. Okay, not only the single image, you could able to control or you could able to add multiple images as a background to any container. You can add multiple images as a background to any of the container. Let's have a look on this. Now I say background images. I say images. Okay, open image in a new tab. Bigger one. I want some smaller ones. So our expectation is, I would like to have this some home as a background. At the same time, the second image you have as a bird image, I would like to put it over there. Then how do you put the multiple images here? By using the background image property, not only the single image, you can simply specify comma separated and what is the URL. The URL, second URL is this guy. Like this, comma separated, any number of images can be added to a single container. Okay. Now, if you save this and reload the page, where is the image actually? The image is actually residing at the background of this guy, because both are going into the right, what I had given, left to bottom only. Now, how do I control these guys? First guy, I would like to put into the left bottom. Second guy, something different. Then you simply say comma, something called as right top. Now, if you come back and reload the page, see here, this is how you can add multiple images. Right now, I'm adding only 2 images, but you can control multiple images as a, you can add multiple images as a background for the single container. And when you want to control the size also, again, comma separated. First 2 parameters will go for the first image, and second image will go with the second parameter. Like this, comma separated, any number of dimensions or any number of parameters can be added for this guy. So this is what the much more support you get for the background images, guys, like multiple images, adding to the center, stretching the background images to the complete container, irrelevant of the dimensions. And yeah, that's it. I mean, any questions on this, guys? Background images? Is
Sir,
everyone?
Sir, how can slideshow perform these images one by one?
Okay, sorry for us. Could you repeat again? What was that?
Sir, these images one by one, so like slideshow, one front side
From the
and
left side,
second one is back.
you can simply change this guy, right? Now, instead of this guy, left top. Okay, I say right bottom. Then, sorry, is left bottom. Then you can control like this, right? This is one by one. If you want to say one by one, very next after the each other, then it is not possible. Okay, because when you see when the images are getting added, it is just simply one after the other. I mean, when next to each other, it is not like very next to the image, isn't it? If you don't specify anything, by default, it will come into the next guy. Then if you can only specify left top or right bottom or center or whatever the 4 directions you can say, you cannot say that one image are very next. Say, for example, here, if you want to get it over here, then in that case, you need to control the background position. So instead of this guy, you simply say something called as, say, some 60 pixel and 90 pixel. So like this, you can control using the positioning of this guy. Am I clear for us? That is what your question is?
No, sir, in Flipkart, there is a offer images sliding one by one, like this.
Slide is completely different for us. Sliding, we have other CSS properties. Right now, we are working on a single container. For that guy, we are adding a background. Background things never ever go with the sliding, right? Sliding effect is completely different. You say preview next button. Once you click on this, next guy come, next guy come. In that case, you have to go with the slider options, not with this guy. We will come to that when I actually come to the Bootstrap and all. I'll even show you how do we create a dynamic set of images as a slideshow. I will even show that. But am I clear with the question now? Next, any other questions?
Sir, can I put top position of the image like bottom position of the image? Can I do like that?
Top position of the image. Right now, I'm doing that, right, ma'am? Like if you see, this is guy is on the top position. If I have to put the bird guy at the bottom, I can do that, right? Here, you just need to specify something called the second position. Now, when I comma separated, the second property will apply to the second guy. Now I say right bottom. Now, if you come back and reload the page, this is how it is happening, right? Top and bottom. Is what your question?
No, sir. Actually, this home image, if I want to show the total in the box, I want to show the house image in only top portion of that house image, total cover image. like that.
You mean to say like the width should be 100%, not the height.
Okay, width and height should be 100%, and I want to show only top portion of that image.
It is not possible, right? When you add a background image, when you're controlling the size, that itself like complete image will be shown. There is no way that you want to show only part of the image. That we can do. In that case, I can remove the background size. Now you can use the background hyphen position property. Okay, only top position you wanted, right? Now what I can do is, I say background position, the first guy, I say minus 50 pixel, comma, something called as 20 pixel. Now if you save this guys, now if it is going left side, some pieces will cut off, right? The first guy says something called as minus 60 pixel. Save this, come back and here. This is what you wanted, right? Sonali?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, as you have this background icon position, guys, if you are not talking, why you are yourself? Yeah, guys, if someone is talking, I'll just only remove it, guys. No option for me. Okay, so what I was asking, yes, ma'am. Are you clear with the question? You're clear with the question, right? So, any more questions, guys, regarding multiple images as a background? Faraj, your voice is audible, but it is not clear. Can you please type it out? Seems some problem with your connection.
Okay.
Okay. So the next part, what we have
Sir,
with your
sir,
go ahead,
hello.
Sonali.
Sir, similar way, if I want to put that image in my cover, and I can remove the top portion also
Yes, right.
from the total cover image. I can remove. Is it possible?
It is not removing actually. We are hiding it right now. If
Yeah,
you see, we are hiding it right now. I can do that. Now, if you see the image is going on the top, doesn't mean that we are actually deleting that guy, right? We are just moving.
If I want to show only middle portion.
That is not possible. When you say background position, background image, that will only move left or right. Now, if you say in between, I want something else, then the container should be too much smaller. You know what I mean by that? Now, what I need to do is instead of creating this much of container, now say, for example, this much of small part I need to show. So you need to create a simple div out of it, then add a background image. Now you move the position to show only that part. But if you say this much of bigger container is there, under that I want to show the center part of it, not possible. At least with background hyphen position. Am I clear, Sonali?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, any possibility to crop the particular image in particular position? I want to crop this house like particular position. Can I crop that?
Cropping here, if you see using your HTML and CSS, there is no possibility to edit the images. It's only showing the image what you wanted. Now, if you see, I can say that from the left side, I have cropped the image. It doesn't mean that actually you have deleted, but you're just hiding the image to be not to shown to the end user. Now,
if I want to crop this, then I use JavaScript, right, sir?
Not even JavaScript, right? So what do you mean by cropping actually? You mean to say deleting or cutting it?
Cutting it,
Cutting
yes,
it,
sir.
right? That is what I mean. You cannot work on the files using your JavaScript. Because the cropping is actually working on the image and doing the changes. That is not possible with your JavaScript. Using your HTML and CSS, you can only show like hiding and
hiding the image.
Wide part. Yeah, that you can do, but not the cropping. Okay. Okay, so the next part, what we have in your CSS3 is another most advantage. Now, from now, there are list of some topics, guys, from your CSS3. Like there is something called as transformations. Okay, there is something called as transitions, and there is something called as keyframes. There is something called as grid layouts. There is something called as flex layouts. There is something called as multi-column layouts. Okay, and gradients. Under that you have linear gradient and radial gradient. keyframes, multi-layer. Yeah, these are some of the advanced, some of the very important features of your CSS. Yeah, on the top there is something called as media queries also. Okay, so media queries, how do we develop the responsive web pages? We'll be looking onto this. So these are some of the advanced features what we have within your CSS3, guys. Okay, so other than the like a small part like adding the content, etc part, we do have some specific topics in your CSS3 which are which are like very important, either either in the way of implementing or in the perspective of interuse also. Okay, so let us go one by one. The very first thing is transformation. So what do you mean by transformations? Anytime you add any container on the page, you could able to transform the container into 3 different ways using the CSS transform property. Okay, let me create an example for this. Transform yeah, sorry guys. Okay, so let me create a container here. Okay, assume like this is how I have created a container. Now, as I said you, there is a CSS property, something called as transform property. Okay, so what do you mean by this transform? As I said you, 3 types we can actually transform the element. One is rotate, and one is the scale, and one is the scale, rotate, and transition. Oh, sorry, yeah, transition. No, not transition. It is
Skew, sir. Skew.
translate. Yeah, skew is also there. Okay, so these are the possible options what you have for the CSS transform property. So how do you actually rotate it? I mean, rotate in the sense we could able to rotate any of the DOM element within the given between 0 to 360 degrees. Okay, so those type of things can be done. So the very first thing what we see is transform with rotate. So let's have a look. Now I say rotate. Here it is going to take a value with a degree as a measurement. Now I say 120 degrees, something like this. Now if you save this guy, come back here and reload the page. You see here, the element is getting rotated. Okay, so you specify the degree value accordingly, whatever the DOM element you have, it will be rotated using the CSS transform with rotate property. On the top, you might ask me a question, boss, what if I want to put a logic of keep on rotating? I want to say something called as it is circularly has to keep on rotated. So how do we do this? For now, as we haven't gone to the keyframes part and all, we actually have to go to the JavaScript way, using which you can actually implement this automatically or keep on updating the rotation. So it's a very simple logic, guys. What I need to do, if at all it has to get rotated, I need to say rotate 5 degrees, rotate 6 degrees, rotate 7 degrees, rotate 8 degrees. Dynamically, I need to update the rotate value using JavaScript. Because if at all I have to do dynamic, only JavaScript is the option what we have, right? So using JavaScript, we know that we can take any CSS property and we can apply to any of the element. So dynamically, when you're applying, even change the value also. Okay, that is what we can do with your rotate property. So how do we do that? Let's have a look. Now I say, let me remove this transform property, or else just keep it for some time. Now I'm going to put some JavaScript code here. I say a function apply animation. Transform is equal to, I simply say rotate something called as some 130 degrees. This is what I'm adding here. Okay, using JavaScript, I'm actually changing the transform property here. Now I simply call this method, save this guy, come back and reload the page. You see the element is getting rotated. So using JavaScript, you have changed the CSS property, super fine. But my expectation is it should not go directly to the 130. I should start with 1, 2, 3, 4, following with etc. degrees, right? So how do we do that? So for that, what actually we do is I will say where, or let me make a global variable. This is all logic, guys. It is not a CSS3 part. CSS3 is simply transform. Now, if you want to put an animation, use the property with a what logic you wanted. So I say some count equal to 5. Initially, I will put it as a count here. Now, under this rotate, I simply say I will pass this count here. Okay, so what is going to happen? Whatever the count you have, initially it says rotate 5 degrees. Later, I will take this count value instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4 and all. I will say count plus is equal to, or else count plus is equal to 1. I will say initially, let me go with 1. Then it will be 2, 3, 4, or else instead of that, we can go with plus plus also, right? Increment operator. Okay, fine. You come back and reload the page. Okay, 1 degree it got rotated. But okay, so 1 degree it got rotated. But now what is my expectation? I need to keep on rotating that guy, isn't it? So what I need to do? Can you give me any logic? If at all I have to do this method multiple times.
Loop.
All
Come on. Okay. For loop is for repeating it. But what if I want to repeat the job with a delay time?
State interval.
Awesome.
Set
We have
interval.
something called a set interval method, right? So can I say set interval? Remove this guy. Let us define this guy over here itself. Something called as 100, which is like 1 millisecond. Control X. Okay, now if you come back and let's reload this page. You see here, the animation is affecting. Yes. One more thing, what I need to do is whenever the count is equal to, if at all the count is equal to 360 degrees, then you can say count equal to starts from 0. Now if you come back and reload the page. So this is how you can put the animation effects by using the, animation effect is through the JavaScript, but rotate is the CSS property using which you can actually make an element to be rotated. And it even supports 3D rotation also, guys. Right now it is 2D. If at all you want to make it as 3D, 2 ways you can do. One is rotate X. You see how it is happening. You see here, rotate X in the sense it is coming to the front like this, it is happening. Let me decrease this count, guys. Come back and reload this page. See here, this is how it is rotating. Okay, when it is rotate
Sir,
X.
if we give that box a shadow, then that shadow will also rotate along with it.
It should be. Let me add it. But first of all, let us see rotate Y. How the rotate Y is doing. See here. The rotate Y is like this. So you can even go with the 3D paste. Okay, as you said, obviously whatever the content it has to rotate, right? Now when I say box shadow 5 pixel and 5 pixels, say some red color, come back here and reload the page. It is happening, right? So because when you say that container has to get rotated, the complete container will do. It is not like only the box and excluding the CSS properties. Is everyone clear on this? The CSS transform property with a rotate value?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. The next property, what it is having is the scale property. Okay. Let me talk about the scale now, and remaining all I'll be discussing tomorrow. So the next property, what you have is the scale property. So how do you scale these guy? Let us have a copy of this, paste this guy, save this guy. I say CSS transform with the scale property.html. Okay, so what do you mean by scale? It's very simple. Anytime you want to add a zoom effect to the content, okay, you add some image. For example, I can put an image as a background to this guy. Let us take out this image. I say background. Let me remove the rotate. Background.
Sir?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
Sir, if when we rotate that box, if I don't want to rotate that text, can I do it like that?
It is not possible, right? When I say container, including what all it is having, it has to get rotated. Because we are not specifically saying that only the border. When I say a container, including its shadow effects, including its border effects, including its content, that will be applied, right? It's not only specific to the text or only for the borders. Am I clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
So now I want to stretch this background image. Let us say some background hyphen size, something called as some 100% and 100%. Now I can stretch the single image to occupy the complete container, right? Now open in the browser. This is how it is. Now I got the image something like this. My expectation is whenever user mouse hovering on this, you would have seen in most of the pages that, when you go for the online shopping application, when you mouse over on it, you could able to see the image getting zoomed out, right? So how do we implement this? I simply say dot container colon hover. Whenever the hover effect is happening, I would like to say transform scale 2,2. Okay, let us see what it is happening. Now once I reload this page, if you see here, whenever I'm mouse hovering on it, do you see it is increasing its dimensions? The zooming effect is happening? Yes. So what do you mean by the scale property? Scale is a predefined property which will redraw the DOM element with the new dimensions. That too, the dimensions will be relative to its original dimensions. So what do you mean by the scale 2, 2 here? Whatever the width you have, multiply it with 2, that is what the width should be. Whatever the height you have, multiply it with 2, that is what the height should be. Okay, so when the element is getting rendered, so multiply the current width and current height into so and so. Now you can say 2, 10. So 2 times of width and to 10 times of height. Like this, you can specify whatever the value, accordingly, the element or dimensions will be redrawn here. Now, if you save this, this is how it is getting rendered. Now, you may ask me a question, what if I want to put some animation effect here? You see here, whenever I mouse over on this, automatically just coming like this. What if I want to add some animation effect? Okay, I will show you this. Say some transition, transform, 2 seconds. Okay, I will talk about that, what actually it is. Let's refresh this guy. So whenever I mouse over on this, see here, these type of zooming effect also can be added. Okay, not just directly getting added, but you can simply put this type of stuff. Anyway, the next concept is our transition. So at that time I'll discuss, but I just want to show you that it is possible to do that. Am I clear here, guys? Okay, I'm just removing this transition property. Only thing what you need to do is the transform property will take the scale value using which you could able to redraw the element with a new dimensions. Any questions?
Sir, if I cursor on this, can be rotated?
For us, again, your voice is not clear. Can you please type it out?
Okay, sir.
Next.
Sir, what is exact use of scale, sir? Scale property.
Zooming effect only, ma'am. Like whenever you have some products in the page and whenever you mouse over on it, you want to provide a zoom in effect, or you want to add some zoom out effect. So only for these things, we actually go with the scaling.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so this is about the transform with the scale property and rotate property, guys. I'm just pausing this guy for now. Tomorrow, we will start with the other property of this, which is translate property. Again, for the same transform only, we can actually specify the translate. We can specify the skewness of that, how we are actually those things are doing. We'll have a look on that tomorrow. Okay,